Finally, we'll look at desire fulfillment theory. This is the one that tries to take an objective stance and a subjective stance and tie them together. For our desires are subjective. Each person will have their own subjective desires, but whether or not those desires are fulfilled is a question of reality. So we have the subjective, we have the objective coming together. For example, I may have the subjective desire to be a teacher of philosophy. That desire is only fulfilled if, in fact, in reality, I am a teacher of philosophy. So these two things are coming together. Now, we have lots of desires. Many of them are rather trivial. So desire theory needs to say more. In particular, which desires count towards a good life? One kind of answer is called preference hedonism. Any preference concerning our mental states counts. Anytime we have a preference for which mental state we'd like to be in, and we have that preference fulfilled, that contributes towards our quality of life. This tries to build in the idea that some people like states of pain, and that other people think states of pain are perfectly good steps along the way. For example, if you like to climb mountains, that's going to be filled with plenty of states of pain. But if you prefer to be in those states, if you just like climbing mountains and you prefer to have those pains related to climbing mountains, well, then you're good to go. Pain is only something bad for us if it bothers us. For example, some people on strong pain medications battling chronic pain say that they still feel the same sensation of pain, but it no longer comes with the attendant aversion. They don't mind it. So the preference hedonist says, whatever kind of mental state you prefer, as long as you get those mental states, that's what makes a life go well. Others will come to the preference hedonist and say it's not just desires for certain mental states, as the hedonist says, but also desires for certain things non-mental to happen in the world. For example, I might have the desire for my laptop to be fully charged. This doesn't have to do with my mental states, it has to do with the things out there in the world. So preference hedonism isn't broad enough according to some. That might lead us to unrestricted desire fulfillment theory. This is the idea that any desire that's fulfilled for you, no matter what, counts towards improving your quality of life. But this might then seem too broad. If preference hedonism was too narrow, unrestricted desire fulfillment might seem too broad. For example, I might desire to scratch an itch, and that desire might be fulfilled, as it just was. And yet, can I really say that that contributed any meaningful, substantial element to my quality of life? Not quite clear that scratching an itch is the kind of desire that can go into an account of the quality of one's life. But unrestricted desire fulfillment would have to say that it is. Another example is many of us desire that Pluto be a planet. And astronomers have different things to say about whether Pluto counts as being a planet based on the usual astronomical criteria. Now, we might desire that Pluto be a planet so that there are 9 planets instead of 8. But if the astronomers tomorrow announce Pluto is definitely a planet, would that really make my life go better to have that desire fulfilled? Not clear that it would. So problem number 1 for unrestricted theory, trivial desires seem to be ones whose fulfillment doesn't really bear on the quality of one's life. Second problem for unrestricted theory is we seem to have many desires that don't actually have anything to do with our own life at all. For example, if I meet a stranger on a train, the stranger tells me that they have cancer, I may genuinely desire that they be cured of their cancer. The train arrives at its destination, we both go our different ways, I totally forget about the incident. Unbeknownst to me, the stranger's cancer has been cured, my desire has been fulfilled. Problem, this doesn't have anything to do with my life, so how can it have anything to do with the quality of my life? Moreover, I don't even know that this stranger's cancer is cured. So doesn't it stand to reason that I need to know about my desires being fulfilled in order for those desires to improve my quality of life? That is, suppose the stranger and I had exchanged phone numbers and the stranger calls me and says, hey, my cancer was cured. I might then feel a pleasant sensation and say, I'm very glad about that. I've now experienced my desire being fulfilled. But then it seems like we're back into the experientialist turf, where what matters is having that satisfying experience of a desire being fulfilled. To try to overcome these problems with unrestricted fulfillment theory, we have the success theory. The success theory tells us that the desires that count towards our quality of life are the ones that, when fulfilled, actually help us be successful in our projects in life. So, for example, if you graduate from college, that's a desire you had. You've now fulfilled that desire, and that counts towards your quality of life because it means you're being successful in your life's projects. This explains some of the problematic elements. For example, the Pluto case that we just discussed. Why does the fulfillment of your desire that Pluto be a planet not enter into the quality of your life? Well, because it has nothing to do with the success of your life projects. Now, if you're an astronomer, that could be a different matter. But then we have to get a criterion for which kinds of desires concern the success of your life projects and which don't. For example, suppose that you're a parent and unbeknownst to you, one of your children dies in an avalanche, or unbeknownst to you, one of your children becomes a petty thief. It seems like these states of affairs bear on your success in life as your parent, which is one of your life's projects, being a good parent. And yet, these things, if you don't have any experience of them, you're not going to know that they happen. Can they really enter into the quality of your life? It also introduces the question of post-mortem fulfillment or non-fulfillment. Can something happening after you die enter into the quality of your life? For example, if you were a scientist who lived their entire lives to try to explain some phenomenon, and after you die, your work is discovered and you're celebrated as a great genius, you weren't around to experience that, but one of your desires has been fulfilled. Does that make your life better? Not clear that it does. Moreover, it seems like we should prefer the satisfaction of global desires over local desires. For example, a local desire is something like scratching an itch, whereas a global desire is something like being recognized for your work. But why should we think that those global desires are more important? Well, the answer here seems again straightforward, that the fulfillment of global desires makes your life subjectively more pleasant. In all cases, desire fulfillment theory seems to need some recourse to experience, to the subjective valence of your experience, in order to get value off the ground. We're back into the experientialist problem. Then we're back into Robert Nozick's experience machine